Welcome to the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors meeting. It is 9:05. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation by Pastor Jeffrey Woods with First Christian Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, on this date, 22 years ago, our country faced a challenge that we had never known before. But you enabled us to rise to meet the challenge. And that gives us the perspective that nothing we're challenged with or challenged to address today or in the weeks ahead or months ahead are beyond our ability to do it with your help. As our County Board of Supervisors convenes this public gathering to discuss and make decisions about the business of our county, there is much in our agenda that offers us cause for gratitude. To begin with, I thank you for Director Tara Chumley and all who serve with her in our County Parks and Recreation Department, who we specially honor and appropriately celebrate in the month of July. Women and men who all year round maintain and oversee regional, neighborhood, community, and off-road parks, along with a number of bridges, historical areas, river access points, pools, reservoirs, a youth camp, and open spaces, as well as providing recreational programs, all of which seek to promote the well-being of the residents of our county. We pray for them and the others who are out in the heat, especially in this time. I also thank you for Director David Lehman and his team in our Public Works Department, whose excellence in caring for our county roads, bridges, land surveys, and transit needs has gained praise and recognition for the excellence of their practices. Even our consent calendar gives us reasons for gratitude, highlighting how many gifted and committed men and women we have who are willing to faithfully serve on county boards, commissions, councils, committees, and planning groups to oversee, promote, and provide guidance for and insight regarding a whole range of important aspects for our county life together. Thank you for those who have served, who are continuing to serve, and who are just beginning their service to all of us in these ways. Thank you as well for those in our Chief Executive's Office, Public Works and Planning and Development Departments who do all the legwork needed to bring forward items for our supervisors to consider and approve. And thank you for our County Council who ensures that the decisions made are legally sound. Then, Father, we would thank you for our county supervisors who seek to diligently lead us throughout the year. Thank you for promising to provide the wisdom they need to make prudent decisions and the courage they need even to make unpopular but just decisions as they look to you to give them what they need to do so. Finally, I thank you for your presence, which gives us the assurance and the freedom to gather as we do this morning, to learn from one another and to express our concerns as well as our affirmations regarding any of the items that come before us. May all that is done in these chambers this morning prove to be for the well-being and the greater good of all who consider Stanislaus County to be our home. For I ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Pastor, thank you so much. You always do such an eloquent job, so we appreciate your words. All right, moving on to presentations. July 2023 is Parks and Recreation Month here in Stanislaus County, so I'm going to invite Tara Chumley up for a PowerPoint presentation. Tara, good morning.
Good morning. All right. Good morning, Chairman Condit, Supervisors, CEO Hayes, Council Bowes. I'm Tara Chumley, your Director of Parks and Recreation. And at the staff table is Julia Rona, our marketing and events coordinator. And behind us is several of our Parks and Recreation staff here with us today. Today we're here to recognize the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in Stanislaus County. Since 1985, people have celebrated Park and Recreation Month each July. And the National Recreation and Park Association recognizes park professionals that promote building strong, vibrant, and resilient communities. This year's theme, Where Community Grows, celebrates the vital role park and recreation professionals play in bringing people together, providing essential services, and fostering the growth of our communities. I especially like how the theme ties in with our county mission. Today we celebrate Stanislaus County Parks and Recreation and highlight a few things that we've been doing this last year to keep our community growing. This year we launched our mobile recreation van thanks to funding provided by the Cannabis Community Contribution Program. And the rec van is equipped with fun activities and games and provides summer programming for youths ages 6 to 17, equipped with fun activities and games and operated by our partners, the Police Activities League. You can visit our website at stancountyparks.com for the current rec van schedule, and we also have some brochures available here today in the lobby. We recently reopened Burbank Paradise Park with improvements primarily funded by a state Prop 68 grant. It includes a new playground and splash pad along with a new picnic area and adult exercise equipment. It was so fun watching the kids play and enjoy the park. And coming soon in August, we will be reopening Oregon Park with 2 new playgrounds, an adult exercise area, renovated splash pad, new shade structures, and so much more. We've even added a new vandalism-resistant restroom called a Portland Loo, and these park improvements are also primarily funded by a state Prop 68 grant. The last major renovation of Oregon Park was back in 2004, and so we are very excited to offer the community a refreshed park to play in. So last year, our staff partnered with PAL and Manos Unidas, Sierra Vista Child and Family Services, and the City Ministry Network to hold the first annual Dia de los Muertos at Fairview Park. We had 400 people attend this free community event that included performances, fun activities, and outreach tables from several county and community agencies. Our annual egg hunt was held at Modesto Reservoir, a fun family event that brought over 1,000 visitors to our regional park this year. With 4 egg hunts to cater to different age groups, we had over 12,000 eggs for the children in our community, along with donated prizes that were raffled. And most recently, on July 1st, we held our 27th annual fireworks show at Woodward Reservoir. We had more than 10,000 people in attendance who began to arrive bright and early at 5 a.m. to grab their spots to watch the show that evening. And this year we worked on a few improvements that included day-use pre-sale ticket options through our website that guaranteed entrance after the park met its maximum capacity. We knew we hit it big time when our pre-sale tickets were being resold on Craigslist with a markup of almost 200%. Be sure to look for more improvements next year. If you've been at any of our regional parks recently, you may have noticed some new signage that welcome our guests to our parks and remind them to be courteous. We note a few of our standard rules, such as quiet hours for our campers, keep fires contained in the fire pits and barbecues, and supervise your minors, and sometimes even the adults. These signs include contact phone numbers for both our parks and sheriff's staff, and a couple of QR codes, one that takes you to our website, gives you a list of all of our rules, and the other to complete our customer survey. And speaking of our customer survey, we launched it about a year ago, and it tracks our visitors' experience when they come to our regional parks. Our survey seeks feedback on a 5-star rating scale of park accessibility, cleanliness, park features, park and sheriff staff, and their overall experience. We review this feedback monthly and have made some improvements as a result, and even address issues that our visitors bring to our attention. I love the part of the comment on the top. It talks about the best fire pits I have ever seen, because I do prefer our new concrete fire pits myself. Another comment we've seen about Frank Rains was, "It was a great time. Wish I would have found this place sooner. First time, and we love it. Thank you." So we need to get more first-timers out to the parks. Here are the ratings for our reservoirs out of a possible 5. Looks like we need to do a better job of keeping our parks clean, but we have found that as our visitation increases, our staffing resources have not. On the screen with a few of the positive comments about how visitors enjoy our reservoirs, but I'm going to share a few more. The environment is lively, and that was at Woodward Reservoir. I'm guessing they were on Tea Island. We love camping at Modesto Reservoir, better than McSwain, win for Stanislaus County. And the one that sticks with me, literally, is there a campsite without any goose poop? Nope, I don't think there is, but we won't charge you extra for wildlife droppings. So all this is possible because of our amazing park staff. This year we celebrated some key members of our team, starting with 25 years of service to Rob. He's with our Modesto Reservoir team. And he started with our department as a part-time seasonal park aide in 1997. I enjoy spending time with Rob as he continues to educate me on aspects of Modesto Reservoir. And Ron with our County Center and Community Parks team, who is starting his new adventure next month as a county retiree. Congratulations, Ron. We wish you all the best. With 15 years of service, Russ is our supervisor over county centers and community parks. And if our team had one word to describe him, it would be caring. He cares about our customers, our staff, and the community. Joe, also with County Center and Community Parks with 10 years of service and then some. He actually began his career in parks in 2005 as a seasonal park aide, was promoted to a full-time park maintenance worker, but unfortunately was part of the many reductions in force of our county in 2009. We're so fortunate to have him return to parks and serve our community. And then finally, with 5 years of service, Tyler, who also started as a seasonal park aide in 2017, where we were fortunate to have him join our team full-time in 2018, and today he is a park maintenance worker at Modesto Reservoir. Our parks and recreation professionals consist of 60 full-time staff and at least 25 seasonal extra help staff to get us through the busy summer season. I'm so honored to work beside this amazing team. They work hard in unsavory circumstances, varying temperatures ranging from 30 to 130 degrees. Well, at least that's what it feels like on most days. And always with a smile on their face and a passion for our parks. Today we celebrate each and every one of them for their contributions to our community. And finally, if you would like to learn more about our events, parks, and programs, or you just can't wait to join our team, please visit our website and follow our social media pages. Thank you.
Wonderful job, Tara. Wonderful job, Tara. We appreciate everything you're doing with this great department, such a vital part of our organization, all your team members. I do want to go ahead and invite them up. We're going to read the proclamation here and also probably take a photo. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading the resolution. So our parks and recreation are vitally important to establish and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of our community and region. Parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation service for all those who are mentally or physically disabled, and improves the mental and emotional health of all citizens. Parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Our parks or natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. The U.S. House of Representatives have designated July as Park and Recreations Month, so therefore let it be resolved that Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare the month of July 2023 as Park and Recreation Month here in Stanislaus County.
Okay, come on, folks. Get back here. Have everyone step forward.
Shoulders back, chin up. Pop it in.
Well, now I'm the only one.
No, you're good.
Let me just move to the outside. All right, ready? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here.
So before you guys leave, I just want to point out, I love that we're getting customer surveys. And what's the most exciting thing is that the employee, they're held in high esteem, both the Sheriff's Department and the Parks employee, and I appreciate that. Because an experience is partially because of the experience that you provide for them, as well as the amenities that are there. So again, hats off from the board.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Next, we are moving on to the recognition of Stanislaus County Public Works as the recipient of the American Planning Association Central California Chapter 2023 Best Practices Award of Excellence. Ms. Joni Land, the Director of Central Section of American Planning Association of California, will be giving a short presentation. Joni, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, I'm Johnny Land. I'm the Central Section Director of the California chapter of APA. APA is the American Planning Association. We're a 40,000-member professional organization that supports communities as they envision what they want to be by providing templates, best practices, professional training for those communities as they put together their visions. The California chapter specifically is 7,000 members. We are divided up into 8 sections, the central section being the largest geographically. That encompasses 11 counties from Kern to Stanislaus, all the way over to the Nevada-California state line. I have just, in the last month, driven over 1,000 miles to present awards, but I have to say that this one is very special to me because Stanislaus County is my hometown, my home county. So I'm really excited to be here and honored to be here to present this to you guys. It is an award of excellence, best practices to Stanislaus County, their staff, Dave and his staff, and Interwest Consulting for the Stanislaus County Urban Pocket Study. I think Dave is here to sort of give you an update on how that's going.
Good morning, Chair Condit, Board of Supervisors, CEO Hayes, County Council Bose. We are making progress on the ARPA projects. We've hired consultants, we've done all the surveys, and we're getting close to 30% design. So, and we've been coordinating with the cities where we're going to build the infrastructure. And I would say, for the most part, we're on time. Is Chris Brady around here somewhere? At any rate, so Chris and Danny have been working hard on this. Did want to thank a few people, and it would be Chris and Danny for implementation right now. Danny especially helping me getting the planning study done. Debrief, NBS, Interwest, Theron and Paul. Supervisor Withrow for taking us on the road trip. Good job. That was a lot of fun. And it was super interesting to see everybody's neighborhoods. That was great. And the whole Board of Supervisors and the CEO's office takes a village. It wasn't just Danny and I. So thank you all.
Here's your award.
Fabulous. It's a major award.
Johnny, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for the proclamation. Dave, the department, you guys are doing fabulous work. I know your department is always in demand, but such a vital department with this organization and to meet the needs of our residents. So just keep up the great work. obviously add that to the trophy case. Hopefully
Right.
there'll be more in the future. But thank you so much for making time to be here today.
Thank you, Chair Condit. Chris? Oh, you're right there. Thank you. Right.
Ready?
Thank you.
Danny would have been here, but he's on vacation, so.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for being here. Dave, good job.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You burn a lot of calories getting up and down the dais. Getting my steps in. All right, moving on to public comment. Public comment is a time for those in attendance to speak on items not related to the agenda. Please state your name for the record, direct all comments towards the dais, and so that is fair for every speaker, please keep your comments to the 5-minute time limit. I do have a comment card from a couple of those in attendance. First comment card is Mr. Donoso, followed by Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members of the board, thank you very much. I'm here to present a few documents for the board. Mr. Chairman, first I have the issue of the CEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategic. We are now July 11, and we still not receive no comment, no information in regard to the 27 meeting that's going to happen in regard to the 4 issues that we request. One is the translation of the document, the 115 pages. Number 2, the technical assistance, we still not receive that. And then the issue of the housing, we still not receive nothing. And the 30 days comment. Mr. Whitrow, one time was the chair of the committee, and asking to be translation that document, and we still not receive nothing. And today is the 11th of July, and the meeting is the 27th. So the question is, what really the office is doing from the Mr. Hayes Chief Executive Office? Because Mrs. Patricia Lord is the person that control the whole agenda, and at the same time the committee is being paid to do his job. At the same time, we not receive nothing, Mr. Chairman. That's very sad to see that we asking for the 4/27 April, and we still not receive nothing. Only information that we're going to have the meeting the 27th of July, and right now is the 11th. Mr. Chairman, the paper that you are reading is in regard to 2 times that I've here in front of the Board of Supervisors pull out the workforce development programs with no public comment. And today is the same thing. And now I heard last 3 or 4 days ago that the meeting was canceled of the Board of the Workforce Development. We know only put, we canceled the meeting with no public input. And that's again a violation of public comment in regard to the state and federal mandates. Mr. Chairman, we are tired to go to the Board of Supervisors to come here. We're tired to go to the Workforce Development, because one of the biggest problems that we face in the community is education. We have a big problem in the education system, and how you going to train people when you don't have a good education? How you going to have a job with the Mexican Americans and Latino at 2 years reading, writing, and math? That's very difficult. At the same time, promise to you to have a job and not have no jobs. The same in the biology industry, they're going to put there in Cross Landing. Who are going to be the people that work in there? For sure, the janitors going to be the Mexican Americans and Latino. No question about it. There's no question about it. So the promise of 40,000 jobs is impossible. You're talking about around the community? No way. And who's going to come here? People from Berkeley or different places, but not from this area, because the education system in this area failed to educate our Mexican Americans, Latinos. Mr. Chairman, we're already going to next week to Office of Education of California complain about the issue of the county, Stanislaus County. We're going to send letter to the Treasury Department and the Labor Department. There are a lot of violations in this county in regard to the workforce development. That's enough is enough. We come many times here and the county council acting like, no, he don't know what he's talking about. Even the conflict of interest, 2 times asking for the conflict of interest is still an answer. I bring the issue of the conflict of interest and it's still an answer. He said, no, I don't have time to read it, or I never read it before. That's not good for a professional to say that in front of everybody. So the council had to come out and really open. So because we know it's so much control under Mr. Hayes, we go to the state and federal grants. Because what the money is there? And complain openly. The discrimination that exists for 50 years against the Mexican-American students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. Debbie? Debbie, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Debbie Martinez. I wear several hats in this community. I am the one that exposed the school-to-prison pipeline. I am the one that is fighting for the disadvantaged population of children to make sure that they get equal opportunity, not only in their education, but in employment, workforce. I've been serving this community since 1984, when Dick Richard Lang was mayor. Now I stand here, 2023, broken. As a citizen for Stanislaus County, I have given up countless hours to expose the education of our children that are not properly being educated. When they go out to the workforce, I see them homeless on those streets. That's where they ended up. Unfair that they get supplementary English learner funding, foster care funding, low-income funding. I stand before this governing board because now I fall victim. I'm homeless. I'm out there knocking on doors. Where's my help? 40 years serving. No grants. No 501c. I just serve my community the way it's supposed to be done with this voice of mine that my grandfather taught me. My mother serves in this community, 89 years old, documenting. Mr. Miguel Donocio knows my grandfather, legislation attorney, Washington, Capitol. Now I stand before my own council, pleading, begging for help for me now. Educators knocked me out of the system because my foster child was victimized, and as a result, a wheelchair was placed in the back of my Tahoe. I sent my boy to school with 2 feet. They sent him home with 1. I had no reason to have a wheelchair in the back of my Tahoe. So when I opened it up, it came tumbling down, hit my shins, broke my shoulder, broke my jaw. No justice. I didn't get any. My boy didn't get any. So I continued to voice unjust in our educational system. Now today I voice unjust for our homeless population. I sit with the CRLA. I had a meeting with Jessica Hill yesterday. My question was, where is it for us? Where is it for me? I'm not on parole. I'm not on probation. I'm not on drugs. I was forced into early retirement by educators who failed to do their job. Now you guys, I come before. I don't have a house. I knock on those doors. These programs that you guys fund, there's nothing. It sounds good, but the services are not there. The services are not rendered for people like me. I'm not gonna roll around on that dirt and lose my dignity because I'm in need. So I go before this governing board, but I'm also speaking to state and federal because I sit with the Latino Community Roundtable. Just yesterday, as I went home homeless, I sat and heard on housing element updates. It's a joke. Because if we can pass millions and billions of dollars for the next 8 years, where is it for me today? Where is it that we passed for our seniors that don't have to lose their dignity in all of this? Because I'm not. Now I'm going to step into this board. You guys are going to get to know me like those educating boards do. And trust me, I'm in 28 of them, 3 counties. And I'm not going to stop until equal opportunity is given to the disadvantaged population like me. People in higher up put us here. I'm asking that you take me out. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. All right, that is it on the speaking cards that I have. Are there any others, members of the public, that wish to comment during public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public comment period and move on to the consent calendar. Do any members of the board wish to comment or pull an item on consent? Okay, seeing none, we will open it up to the public. Do any members of the public wish to comment on any items on consent? Okay, seeing none, we will bring it back to the board for action.
Motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion by Supervisor Buck Condit and a second by Supervisor Vito Chiesa. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, passes unanimously 5-0. All right. So moving on to our public hearing section, we will have a presentation by Sam Trun, which is to consider revising the load carrying capacity of the Keys Road Bridge over the TID District Main Canal. Sam? Oh, okay, we have Mr. Lehman as well.
Good morning, Chair Condit, Board of Supervisors, CEO Hayes, Council Bose. Good morning. Want me to run it? You could. Oh, that's right. I'll do it.
The way that everyone ran out of this room, I think this is going to be a bad presentation.
There we go.
What's
Right
up
on.
with that?
Well, I brought Sam today for answering questions. His team's the one working on the replacement project, which is probably more interesting than weight restricting this bridge. Any rate, we're here to discuss and hold a public hearing on the load rating revisions for the Keys Road Bridge over the Turlock Irrigation District TID Main Canal. During the Caltrans biennial bridge inspection, they do inspect all our bridges every 2 years. They found new deterioration on the bridge. They did this inspection when the canal was dry back in February. And they sent it off to the load rating unit, and the new load calculations show that the bridge needs to be weight restricted for legal trucks. And so California Vehicle Code Section 35751 requires the Board of Supervisors to hold a public hearing to establish new weight limitations for county-owned bridges. The reason why it's weight restricted is a deterioration of steel reinforcement from 10% to 25%, which is a section loss of 25%. The steel is rusting away. The asphalt concrete thickness changed from 2 inches to 8 inches for the entire structure. And so what we're recommending the new weight restriction be 17 tons per vehicle, 24 tons per semi-trailer combination, 36 tons per truck and full trailer, and no permit loads are allowed. And that's a big deal right there. Keys Road is a belt across South County, and there are a ton of permit loads that want to go down Keys Road. We just fixed one of these things a couple years ago over TID Lateral 6 that's been a thorn in the side of the permit section for 20 plus years. So we're working expeditiously on this one to get the bridge replaced. Here's some pictures. That's what it looks like. And here's the fun one. There's one of your beams under the bridge, and you can see there's a fair amount of section loss there on the square rebar, and they haven't made square rebar for 80 years. So It's, bridge is falling apart. So staff recommends, find that the notice of public hearing is published in compliance with section 6066 of the Government Code, conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding the revision of the load carrying capacity of the Keys Road Bridge over the Turlock Irrigation District Canal, accept the revised bridge load rating from the Caltrans Division of Structure, Maintenance, and Investigations for the Keys Road Bridge over the TID Main Canal, and staff is here to answer any questions.
Wonderful, thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments?
I definitely have comments. First of all, I know we found out like right when the water went back in the canal, which is obviously too late to try and do any structural changes to try and support it. This is a main hub and it is going to be received very poorly. I've heard from many people since we put the flashing signs up. I know it's a safety issue and we're going to have to stick with the safety component, but they're going to have to, Caltrans is going to have to do a better job because there's the workaround on this is it's not a half a mile, it's like 6 or 7 miles for vehicles. And you talk about there are literally hundreds and hundreds of semis at 80,000 pounds that traverse that during harvest. So, and I'm not sure where we're going to do the workaround, like the people that are going on Keys, but I can't, in my mind, I can't think other than going south to probably East Avenue to Santa Fe is your workaround?
Is it north of Whitmore?
Or north to Whitmore? Yeah.
North of Whitmore, yeah. And these are big detours. We have this discussion all the time with the County Engineers Association and Caltrans. We have the second oldest bridge collection in the state just after Butte County. And we have almost 100 of these 1920s era canal bridges, and they're all over the county in every district. And exactly like this is one of my worries, is one of these days, one of these bridges is going to be found not be in as good a shape as Caltrans thinks they are. And it's the amount of funding that we need. There's a whole lot of things all tied up. In fact, we're arguing with Caltrans right now over Sonora, over Martell's Creek. They want to do a scour mitigation project on a 103-year-old bridge. And it blows my mind that they want to spend $2.5 million on a 103-year-old bridge that's out of service life.
So, new bridge. Let's talk
New
about
bridge.
Are we going to try and, can we accomplish it this off-season? Is it possible?
You think so?
We're expediting, yeah, we're looking at options.
See?
Right.
Good afternoon, good morning, my apologies. Yeah, we're looking to expedite the construction of the bridge. We're working with some prefabricated manufacturers to try to expedite the process. And we're doing what we're calling a bridge investment credit option with Caltrans to avoid the NEPA component of the bridge design. So we're doing our best, and we're the unfortunate thing is Caltrans doesn't have much experience with this bridge investment credit that they offer. So we're trying to work with them to educate themselves and ourselves in going through this process. But we are looking to expedite the design and the construction of the project.
Sam, explain the BIC real quick.
Yeah, the BIC is kind of a funny process. They are allowing us to use our own funds to build the bridge to avoid the NEPA component of the project. And then they would, at a later time, give us what we call these bridge investment credits as a local match for future bridge projects of ours. So it's a program that's been around for a couple years, from what I understand, but it's seldomly been used. So Caltrans doesn't, their staff doesn't know how to administer the program, unfortunately. But we're working hard with them at the moment to decipher the rules and the regulations, and hopefully we can make that happen.
The reason why that's important, if we spend $1 million on this bridge, they'll give us $1 million credit towards 7th Street or Hills Ferry. And so it's important that we spend a little extra time to save that local investment and get it approved so that we can use it on another one of our big bridges, because we got them stacked from here to, well, a long time.
It's too bad we don't have, like the Corps of Engineers, like the Army Corps of Engineers, like when we do something like that, we couldn't come in with some just temporary crossing right there at the location. And if we could find something like that, buy something like that, and probably use it over and over again to avoid these detours that we're talking about that are going to happen there. I wonder if there's something out there like that. You know how you see it all the time in the Army. They come in and they just put these things up and the tanks go over it. There's got to be a way. There's got to be out there for us to be able to purchase one of these and then use constantly as we're trying to upgrade these things.
Yeah, that's called the Bailey Bridge. We can look into that, Supervisor Withrow.
I wonder what those cost.
The issue there, right, is that because I saw where they're putting in the water treatment plant, they crossed the canal, they needed to put a bunch of cranes across. They laid I-beams down, built a bridge, and literally, and if it took them more than 2 weeks, I would be surprised. But it elevated it about 4 feet, so your sight line is not real good. And this is, again, that's why the bridge is built on the water, because that's a pretty tough sight line for vehicles that aren't semis.
So we're looking at a bunch of prefab bridge manufacturers, and there's more than one. There's at least a half dozen out there, and that's what we'd like to do.
Yeah, there's steel manufacturers, concrete, a slew of available options, and we're looking at all of them. And we're trying to, again, expedite the process. We understand there's a urgency here, and it's a heavily traveled segue within the county, a lot of trucks, obviously, and we're load restricting it. We understand the urgency, so we're working.
If the board can be helpful with Caltrans at any point, if you think we can be of benefit, please let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. I will open it up to members of the public. Do any members of the public wish to comment? All right. Oh, I have to gavel. Okay. Open. All right. So we have opened the public hearing portion. All right. We took comments from the board. Do any members of the public have the wish to comment on this public hearing item? Okay. Seeing none, we will bring it back to the board for action or further comments. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Do we have to take action on it?
I was busy yapping. Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry. So you're looking for?
I'm looking for a motion.
Yeah, motion to approve all staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Chiesa, a second by Supervisor Condit. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, passes unanimously, and I will close the public hearing, right?
Thank you, Board and
All right.
Sam.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Do I have to do it again for Tina's part, or no? Okay. Got it. Okay, next we will have a public hearing to consider adoption of fire protection facility fees for the Salida Protection District pursuant to Title 24. And we have a presentation by Ms. Tina Rocha. Tina, good morning.
Good morning. How is everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
So I'm going to just actually kick this off today and then turn it over to Patrick and our consultant who is here, or actually not our consultant, the fire district's consultant. So good morning, Tina Rocha, Assistant Executive Officer with the Chief Executive Office. The item before you today, consideration of adoption of fire protection facility fees, was scheduled at the request of the Salida Fire Protection District. County code requires that the fee schedule be presented to the Board of Supervisors and enacted by resolution. The county's Public Facilities Fees Committee did review the study and believes it meets baseline standards and recommended it be forwarded to the board for consideration. So joining us today is Jeffrey Small. He is with Capital PFG. He is the consultant for the Salida Fire District, who's going to lead the rest of the presentation, and then he'll be able to answer any questions that you have regarding the study.
I'll kick it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman Condit, members of the Board of Supervisors. On behalf of the Salida Fire Protection District, we want to thank you very much for holding this public hearing and giving us an opportunity to share our impact fee study with you in hopes that you would be willing to impose those fees on new development. Happy to take questions from you at any time in the presentation. And just to jump right into the presentation, if you will, just by way of background, I know that the county adopts impact fees for many, many items, and I do want to thank Patrick and the Public Facilities Fee Committee in working with the district in helping us bring this forward. But as you know, the purpose of an impact fee is to mitigate the impact of new development on public infrastructure, and in this case for fire districts. When new development comes in, the property taxes go to offset the operational costs that go along with new development coming in by way of, additional staff, for the station, and the infrastructure costs come from capital impact fees. That's what offsets fire stations and apparatus. So an independent fire district does not have the police powers to actually impose a fee. They're able to collect it, but their authority really comes from the local district, fire district, approving an impact fee study, which they did back in March of 2023. So once they approve that impact fee study, we come to you for approval. That's why we are here today, is for you to approve this fee. So with regard to the study itself, currently, the last fee study was done in 2008, and you can see before you is the current fees that the district gets. And for residential, it's 49 cents. For commercial, it's 68. And you can see the various tiers there. So that's what's currently happening. We all know that there's been a lot of inflation that has come since 2008, and that, and also the legal requirement that every 8 years the district have a fee study is why we're here in front of you today. So calculating the fee, the methodology that we're using is one that is commonly used for fire districts. We're not here because there's a new specific plan that's been approved that will be a self-contained new development. What we are here because new development will benefit from existing resources. So when that new development comes in, not only do we want to offset the impact of that new development on the existing station, but we also don't want to reduce the level of service that's being provided to existing residents. So we use what we call a buy-in methodology. I believe the county uses has a similar methodology for, you're buying into a planned system. And so that's what we're doing here today. So the cost of the existing capital investment plus the required future capital needs can be spread over the amount of new and existing development to determine the impact fee per square foot. So just all we're really doing is saying, hey, these are the existing resources. These are the new resources that the district has identified. Here is the existing square footage plus the estimated square footage that will be coming over the next 5 years. And we're really giving you a number that is a cost per square foot. And the number is 73 cents per square foot. That would be the amount of the impact fee that would be for new development. And it's a singular fee. It's one that because the fire district is protecting, for the most part, structures, we're using a square footage methodology. So on the next slide, what you'll see here is a summary of the existing assets, fire stations, apparatus, and equipment. That totals $10.7 million. On the next slide, what you'll see is the planned equipment. It's not, there's no fire stations here. It's really just apparatus and equipment totaling $2,095,000. And on the next slide, this is the current structures. We use a Parcel Quest, which is a software program that allows us to look at each parcel within the district, and we can get square footage from that. And we're able to look at estimated new construction, about 500,000 square feet, for a total of about 17,251,000 future square feet within the district. So this slide is actually shows you the math, how the 73 cents is arrived at. And it's simply taking the current and future capital costs less the development fee balance. Of course, the district has been collecting some fees, and they do have a balance. So we think it is fair and reasonable to credit that balance to, in part, to offset our equipment needs for the future. So we come up with about $12.3 million in terms of the overall system-wide cost that's serving the district, right? And then we're looking at the square footage, both existing and future, that's 17.2 million square feet. That comes to a fee of 72 cents. 1 cent has been added as an administrative fee, so that's 73 cents. And I think to really bring these numbers to a practical use, you recall I said that there's about 500,000 square feet anticipated over the next 5 years. At 73 cents, that's about $365,000 that we're talking about. So for every 10 cents, it's about $50,000. So that's really the math, and that's the magnitude of what we're talking about. And with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns that you might have.
All right. Do any members of the board have any comments or questions?
Terry, I'm gonna let you go first because
Okay,
some of your
thanks,
questions
Bud.
I answer mine.
Okay, Jeffrey, thank you for being here and that presentation. And I want to just first start off just making sure that my comments aren't misconstrued in a negative way here. I know Salida Fire needs help, for sure. And I know that, as I understand it, we're about 12 months away from kind of burning through our general fund here. And I see Mark Stone sitting out there, so he can probably help us more with that. So I know there's definitely an operating cost need here that we're going to have to figure out. And I think what ultimately is going to happen is we're going to have to approach the public again for another tax measure and see if there's some way we can get the people in Salida to understand the need and how the service is going to disappear if we don't come up with some additional revenue. That being said, okay, so I'm all for Salida Fire. We got to do what we got to do. And as I understand it, these fees aren't to be used for operating costs. These are capital improvement costs. So they're not going to do anything to help our just structural deficit that we're experiencing out in Salida right now. So I just have a hard time, and this is, darn it, the accountant in me just looking at this thing and trying to make sense of the methodology of using existing structures. First of all, I know you've probably done a lot of these studies, right,
Yes.
Jeffrey? You guys have.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, and so and you do them all in the same way. You have to use the same methodology as far as the. I'm just looking at our numerator and denominator here.
Yeah.
And our top number that we use, do you do that all the time in these studies? Is that right? This methodology.
Because first, if I may, Supervisor Withrow, we really appreciate your partnership, and the questions are very good, and I think that most importantly, it's to arriving at a good, understood place. You know what I mean? Coming to spot. So I appreciate the questions. As far as the methodology itself, there are a number of methodologies that may be used for impact fee studies. So it is the case for fire districts like Salida that a community is using a network system to provide fire protection, emergency medical services to their community, to their existing community. We do use this buy-in method, and that is very different than maybe a new large-scale community coming in where you're going to have a fire station serve a particular area. So the methodology is based on a network that exists, that new development is simply buying into, and we want to arrive at an equitable way for people who live there now, so their service is not diminished, and also being able to allocate those costs in an equitable way to new development coming in. So for that reason, what we're doing is we're taking and this might be a bit repetitive, and I do apologize for that, but just to be clear, we're taking the existing infrastructure, the additional infrastructure, which is about $2.1 million, and we're dividing that by the square footage of existing and new to come up with what is the cost of buying into this existing system. So the additional items that are going to be needed over time to serve the new development are, for instance, a water tender. Now, we know that that water tender will not be used to serve only new development. So they're just buying into a portion of that. And that is the basis of that methodology. And so it was a very similar methodology. You might recall I was here for the West Stanislaus Fire Protection District study. So because it lends itself to that particular methodology, and all we're trying to do is come up with a methodology that is reasonable considering the facts that we're working with.
Okay, and so, thank you for that. So, but when we talk about the existing facilities, those are already paid for. I guess, you know, unless we're going to recover that cost and spread it and give it back to the public who's already paid for it, you know, I could see that if yeah, those were already paid for by the smaller amount of square footage, and now this additional square footage, we're going to get that money and maybe, you know, refund that back to the public who had to, and I know that's not feasible. I'm just saying, I know in situations, homeowner associations, certain things where an individual upfront cost to have, and then as new houses come in, they'll pick up their share and reimburse that individual. So I guess I just use that as an example as why with existing facilities are we using that number? I could see if new stations were needed, yeah, darn it, we've got to put the cost. But here we take these total insured values of existing stations as if those are going to be new station costs that we're going to have to pay for. And I could see that if there was new stations to be bought, but these are facilities are already in existence, have already been paid for. And I know you have to have, sounds like you use different methods, as this isn't the only method, you use different methods for newer areas, and this must be a method for existing areas, it sounds like, that you've used. But I just don't, I just think it's flawed, I guess, and I know you got to have some way to, something to hang your hat on, but when I look at these numbers and think about how we are arriving at them, it's hard to justify that, and I would think hard for the public. Like I said, I know we need help in Salida, and mainly operating help at this point, but I don't know that this is.
And so if I may, and I do appreciate that, we're also using the existing square footage as part of that calculation. So, you know, that is sort of the equalizer here in terms of buying into an existing network, right? So
yeah, so that makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah.
If you're using the total existing square footage in Salida and not just the new square footage. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I didn't even look through, see that part of it, that it was existing square footage.
Yes.
Okay, not just the new anticipated. Okay, never mind.
It's okay. I mean, and really, I think most importantly for the public is the transparency. It's the accountability, and it's having, you know, the discussion, because we really don't want to put anything forward that, you know, where there might be a question. So we do encourage those, and I do appreciate
No, that
the
makes
concern.
much more sense. Yeah, very
Thank
good.
you,
Okay,
sir.
Buck, you're up. I got it. I'm good. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeffrey, thank you for your report. Patrick, thanks for doing the PowerPoint. The 2008 impact fees, that study that was done there obviously used a different methodology, right?
Yeah, well, you know, yes. I will say yes because we're working with a tiered system here. So I'm not sort of going back in analyzing that study. I'm just taking what those current impact fees are and making and if I hope it's okay, I don't mean to over anticipate where you might be going, but the difference.
I'm not going anywhere. I just want to make sure that obviously there's two different types of methodologies, and there's probably a whole lot more. But on that first one in 2008, a different methodology was used.
What I will say is the outcome of the 2008 schedule is a tiered system where you're seeing different rates, okay? We're using one rate. And what we're saying is we are basing fire safety on a square footage basis. And it, whatever that square footage is, certainly if it was a high-rise, that was coming before the, the planning commission or planning department, that would cause us to sort of revisit this methodology, this tiered system. But, I'm not looking at the 2008 study, so I don't really want to give you information that, I'm not completely certain about the methodology that was used. I believe that was probably the case, but you do see the difference in fees, one being tiered, one being a single equitable per square foot charge based on whatever it is you're building, because we're going to protect that square footage.
How many different methodologies are there?
There's probably 4 maybe that are used. I think at the end of the day, it's complying with the legal requirements, the nexus requirements. It's arriving at a solution that is reasonable. That's what we're trying to do here, is come out with a logical, linear, reasonable approach to the study. So getting back to Supervisor Withrow's comments, we're going to look at each one independently and ask those questions. Is this a reasonable approach given the system? And for Salida Fire, and for most, I've probably done a dozen of these in the last year for rural fire districts, this approach is one that is on point.
Are there any local fire districts here in Stanislaus County, San Joaquin, that use this buy-in method?
Yes, sir. Like I said earlier, I was here for West Stanislaus Fire Protection District. I don't know when that was. Maybe it was six months or 9 months ago. But yes, it is common for fire districts in Stanislaus County to use this methodology, and we do represent many of those fire districts.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Vito.
So going back to the methodology, because who ultimately, is it the fire board that determines which methodology they want to use? Or
that is what they are doing as part of their study, their justification study. That's what they're approving their own study. So they're looking, we're working with them in terms of what their needs are.
But did you do the methodology? Because they come up with a number, and then you typically work backwards, right? You need $7 million over 20 years or 10 years. You need X amount, and you can do it through these fee structures based on risk, or you can do it across all of the expected building, right?
Yeah. So we're really first looking at the district and what's appropriate for the district as far as the methodology. And then we're gathering the inputs and making sure we can source those inputs. And then, in this case, it's a division problem. So we're not shopping, if there's a half a dozen ways of coming up with a number, and there are many ways, right? We're not shopping and trying to figure out, okay, this is going to give us the best result, so let's do this. It's really just, who are you? What are you doing? Who are you serving? What is reasonably expected? Are we giving credit where credit is due? And in this case, they do have a balance in their fees. So we want to we just want to approach this in a way that is reasonable and equitable, and the number is what it is. In this case, it's basically apparatus and equipment. Yeah. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. So I want the public, for anyone that's watching, to understand that when fire fees come to us, we don't have a group that goes through these, and they all come differently. Houston did a study. Keys did one a few years back. I think Turlock Rural is undergoing one right now. But typically, there's a risk assessment, and I use risk assessment lightly because risk is the same thing. Are you trying to protect life? Are you trying to protect property? There are different ways of looking at risk. Houston study just did calls per, and they broke it down on size of house, commercial, industrial, assisted living facilities. Obviously, they have a higher risk, or there's more calls there. And so that's how they based it. And it seems like a risk assessment. It seems better to me. Just logically, it seems better to me, but I'm not a fire board member, and I didn't sit down and listen to all the intricacies. We're just high level here. But I need the public to understand that this isn't our bailiwick. Bottom line, we have a firefighter that we lean on. We have an accountant that we lean on for accounting things. But by and large, I'm in the same position as Terry, that rural fire districts, this is just the cost of doing business. And if I want someone to respond to my house in the unincorporated area, they need to have equipment and tires, and they need to be able to have a roof over the top of that machine and have good hoses. And so I understand that. So I'm not going to stand in the way of this today, but I just think, again, the logical way to think of these things for me personally is that they have some risk assessment built into it. Because I think we've used this example, or Buck and I have talked about a hay barn, which is open and it's a fire hazard, but people don't lose their lives. People lose their lives in houses and closed enclosures. There's a greater risk based on those. And so, anyways, that's nothing more than a statement for me. It's not, again, nothing about this study. And I want all these rural fire districts, although Salida's part rural, part city, paid staff, but I want them to succeed because the system collapses without the volunteer side of the fire department. So anyways, those were my thoughts, I guess. Those were comments.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I will go ahead and open it up to members of the public. Do any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Oh, I'm a gavel and open it up for public hearing. So, sir, good morning.
Good morning. Mark Stone, Chairman of the Board for Salida Fire District. We as a district are in kind of a unique situation because of development. We're 42 square miles, and we have two large population zones, one around Salida, one out around McHenry, Del Rio area. Supervisor Wethto talked about tax assessments. We've done that twice. Both times the citizens in the district have told us basically where to go with it. Not because of the fact they don't want to pay anymore, they're just tired of paying more. The people of Salida have already come and told us that they would not support another tax increase after the storm drain fees you just put on them in Salida that came out of that. Those are the kind of things that fire districts all over this county have to deal with. The previous one was Mello-Roos. The people were tired of paying Mello-Roos. They built a beautiful Station 14 because they had to spend the money. No development out there. They bought 2 engines with it. Those have since gone away. They deteriorated. We had to buy a new engine out of that just because they time out on life. There's a lot of costs with running a district that you don't think. It's not just the station that's already built. Station 12 needs a new roof. Station 12 is the Salida station and also now the sheriff's substation there in Salida. We're having well problems with Station 14 out there that was built when the Mello-Roos stuff came in. That's going to be another well project. That becomes a well that's more or less a commercial and a public well when it has to go in. I just spent $24,000 to put a new domestic well at my house. So you can imagine what the cost of a public well is going to be at a fire station out there. What you don't see, we've got a very old tender. That tenders have to be replaced. We have a CFD in place that the citizens of Salida and of the district, not just Salida, told us they want development to pay the way, They're tired of footing the bill for everything else that comes along, and that's reasonable. One of the things we did with this study is we raised some costs and we lowered some costs based on what the public told us, and that was the information we gave to our contractor here to be able to come up with that. So we aren't just looking at boosting money, we're looking at equalizing it out so it comes out the same way across the board. As I said, we got a CFD in place that will generate more money from new development than our tax assessment ever will. And once again, development is paying the way to be able to come into that. That's what the citizens of the district said they wanted. Most of them have no problem with what's going now, but we can get absolutely no help from this county with our CFD to collect the fees. This county is the only one that Capital Facilities deals with in the state that fights this. That is Stanislaus County. Stanislaus County is looking at making all rural residents second-class citizens when it comes to fire protection because they won't back the fire districts. And this is why we're back at this point that we are here right now.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I'm missing the...
We have a CFD in place. Poor people, and by poor people I talk about those who don't have money, pay that money up front right now.
Mark, pay that money when they buy their house?
No, when this is the CFD, when they come in for new development.
Okay.
Jackrabbit out there.
Okay.
They jumped right up on top, paid their CFD fees. We got other places, Flory Industry, Slide Ag Chem, Martin's Dairy, that fight us tooth and nail. We have to take them to court practically to get any money back out of them. And what we have, and all we asked for was before the permit gets final, we aren't holding up development, before the permit gets finalized, that there's a sign-off on there for either the district or the fire marshal's office that says they have joined our community facilities district is out there. Nothing more. That's all we want onto it to be able to have that to come up with. We cannot get that from this county. And this county is the only one that they deal with will not support that. So once again, it's coming down to the point, and we've had meetings with Mr. Bose and his people, and they tell us no. They told us to go to the fire marshal's office and see if they could do it on their end of it. And firefighter Grapevine is very good, as anybody knows out there. So we know what is said to do and what actually happens. And as a public servant in our district, I have to make sure our people are protected out there. Right now, we have cut our response times by half by contracting with Modesto. That's very costly. That's costing us over $1 million a year, basically, for a 3-person engine company in Salida. But they also respond Station 4 to the Hart Ransom District initially. Station 6 comes out Beckwith. 12 takes care of Salida, and 11 takes care of Del Rio. They've cut the response times out there in half, but we have to be able to pay for that. And the way we pay for that is out of our general fund, but we need this to be able to maintain our facilities out there. But the trouble is we cannot get support from this county to collect the simple fees that have been in place since 2010 and a program that's out there.
So does that apply to every one of our fire districts right now? Every one of our...
I don't know how many have CFDs.
It must. It's not just Salida that's happening, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
We'll figure out what's going on there.
Thank you, Mark. Do any other members of the public wish to comment on this? Okay. Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board. I need a gavel out there. Public hearing portion. Back to the board for any further comments.
No other comments? I'll just make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Withrow, a second by Supervisor Condit. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, passes unanimously 5-0. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to correspondence.
This board has received the correspondence and claims as listed on the agenda.
I acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Board of Supervisor reports. Do any supervisors have anything to report?
Stanislaus County Fair, halfway through. If you happen to want to go down and have a great time, the weather's been great. And I think Destruction Derby tonight, and I can't remember what band, Blue Oyster Cult or one of those lit. Something's going on tonight. Don't forget.
All right, we'll move on to Legislative Fiscal and Management Report by CEO Hayes.
Just a couple of items to report. Would like to report out some of the latest bill activity that our county has weighed in on. We did sign on to a consortium letter with all Valley counties in a coalition in opposition of AB 460 as well as AB 1337. These are water rights bills that we have previously opined on as well. Want to also recognize we sent an additional opposition letter just to different folks in Sacramento on AB 985 regarding the San Joaquin Valley Unified Air Pollution Control District. So that's all I have to report today.
Okay, and we do have closed session.
Yes, we have closed session this morning. First item is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D1, we have two cases to consider. Richard Craig West, Sr. et al. Versus County of Stanislaus, and that's in the Superior Court of Stanislaus County, and the case number is CV 2004848. The second case is Carla Schultz versus Stanislaus County et al. It's in the Stanislaus County Superior Court, and the case number there is CV 210065557. Second item is a conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D4, one case, and we have nothing else on that.
Okay.
Appropriate for public comment.
Do any members of the public wish to comment on these items? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and adjourn at 10:22. Thank you, Nick Herr, for watching over us today. We appreciate you.